Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5. We're going to talk a little bit about security and zero trust. It's become clear to me after talking to some people who have watched the first 4 episodes and getting ideas for future content and where we're going to do stuff. A lot of it sort of stems around, how do I use security principles or, the need for security in my organization, I guess the best way to put it, to help make my life as an endpoint administrator easier. And the audience that I seem to attract here on Twitter and everywhere else is that of the endpoint admin, right? Or the security admin, and how we sort of take what we've done for the last 25 years and start to change that in a way that not only benefits the security of the organization, but makes my life easier from an administration standpoint. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think about zero trust. And then in the next episode, what we'll do is we will do like a getting started, right? Like what's the minimum thing you can do and why would you do it, right? So let's sort of dive in here, see how it goes. No promises. First off, how do I think about zero trust personally? I work for Microsoft. We're a pretty big vendor in the security space. And this is my view, not my organization's. It's that zero trust is a set of principles that have sort of been turned into buzzwords to sell products. And I think when zero trust started, I'm probably going to stop using the term zero trust, I don't know. But when zero trust started, it was more of a thing that was like, hey, there's a simple set of principles, and you should strive to implement these principles across the stack, right? Like across every workload, right? So for this, we're going to look directly into the endpoint workload and sort of think a little bit about how these things affect the endpoint workload. But they're super simple. It's super simple. The principles are basically, trust but verify, right? Make sure that I verify explicitly on every access, right? Only have the permissions you need, right? Run with least privilege, super easy. And then just assume that everything you do, that there's compromised devices or there's breached devices accessing those resources or accessing that data. So, that's simple. That's zero trust. It's meant to be pivoted, or it's been pivoted by a bunch of different organizations, including Microsoft. Different things. But that's how you apply it. Those are the simple things that you need to apply in your organization. So, why do you really care? You're an endpoint admin running Configuration Manager or Intune. Everything's going well. You're patching devices. You're, deploying new policies. You're supporting the business. Everybody seems happy. Generally, you should care if you want to stay employed. Right? Now, these principles, if you remove the zero trust marketing sort of vendor label, right? These principles are how you should operate in the enterprise to make sure that you're safe, right? And that your endpoints are safe. So, the big 3 things here to think about are, hey, you don't have the control over the devices you thought you had or you think you have, right? This has changed over the last 20 years, 25 years when we've started managing Windows devices. They used to be all inside the perimeter, and it was security's job to stand on the wall and make sure bad people didn't get into your organization. The firewalls, the perimeter-based security approach, right? And that's changed. Basically, there's probably a large percentage of devices that connect to your network that you didn't buy, right? That are BYOD devices, bring your own devices, right? iPhones, Android devices, Windows devices, right? That you didn't buy. So they don't start in a place of trust. The other thing is that attackers don't need to breach the wall anymore. Like they used to just stand outside and throw rocks at the wall and eventually get in, right? Hopefully they hit a guard or something, right? That doesn't happen. Now with the way that resources are sparsed across the cloud, I can sit on my couch and attack you as an organization, right? Without ever needing to be anywhere where you can even see me. So it's really important that when access happens across these pillars, that we make sure that, we can defend against them, right? The last thing is you're going to get attacked at some point. It's just going to happen. The question isn't if, but just when. So you should really be prepared and have measures in place to help remove some of the risk so you can detect these adversaries early and you can remove the tools these adversaries have at their disposal, things like out-of-date, unpatched operating systems, things like unsecure configurations, all those sort of things. So what do I do? The biggest problem that I hear from admins is basically, hey, I don't have any tools. I didn't get any budget to buy anything that can do zero trust. So there's nothing I can really do. I just stuck managing patch compliance, so on and so forth. Spoiler alert, if you use Configuration Manager or Intune, which a large portion of the world does, you already have tools to manage your devices that have some zero trust like knobs built in that can contribute to your overall security story. So you can already do it today. And that's what we'll spend some time on the next few episodes, is talking a little bit about what you can do as an administrator to start contributing to your overall security posture as an organization. Just small things. So, the principles that you see here on the screen are pretty simple. Or I shouldn't say principles, the steps that we're going to go through. We're going to start by defining some sort of basic controls that you can use that have very little impact to your organization. Then we're going to, have you talk to your security organization, and they're going to love you, right? It's just going to be great. Next, after we implement those basic controls, we'll talk about what controls you can implement and ramp up over time to basically make you more secure, to raise that bar for security, right? And we'll talk about how those, ramping up those controls also might, lower your burden on, let's just say things like patch compliance. Let's say things like out-of-date applications, things of that nature. And then finally, we'll talk about areas to see and know and sort of recognize when you've gone too far. The biggest problem with implementing zero trust and compliance controls is that people try to go from 0 to 100 without having any sort of knowledge about the impact it's going to have on the organization. They just think, hey, I'm going to do this in the name of security and fail, right? And then they abandon these things. So we'll talk about strategies to sort of up your posture over time. I'm well over time now. I'm only supposed to be down to 5 minutes. So stick with us for the next few times, and we'll walk through these. We'll walk through these for you. Have a good one. Bye bye.